Give me 1 second. I totally transitioned a little bit too early. I apologize for that. There we go. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Hey Corwin, I'm doing pretty good. So today we are going to continue working on our tongs that we started on Monday, and we're gonna turn these into wolf jaw tongs. I was kind of looking at different designs, and I think they're just gonna be a set of wolf jaw with V bits inside, both vertical and horizontal V on these wolf jaw, just so that it makes it a little bit easier for me to like pick things up. Hey Bubba, welcome to the stream. So we are going to transfer from the big forge to the little forge because, you know, we're not going to really need a lot of like really large space for these tongs because, I mean, they're not even going to be bolt tongs like these. So we're probably going to use, or not probably, we are going to be using the mailbox. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to turn on the mailbox and start heating some steel. I'm a little bit tired today. It is super nice out, so the weather's been crazy lately. Going super cold and really warm. Unfortunately, my body isn't really excited about that, so, you know, I'm feeling a little under the weather even though it's really nice out. All right. So let's start heating that up. We'll probably do them one at a time. Just to give me a little bit more time to talk to you guys and a little bit more rest time. Morning sandwich, or I guess evening. Evening for you and afternoon for me. Goodness. I don't know what time it is, apparently. I feel like that's kind of one of those things that happens when you get really involved in editing. You're moving time around and then time just doesn't work the way it's supposed to because you're just, you know, able to move things around and make things sometimes make more sense, sometimes make less sense. So I think today we're going to primarily be using the press, some here on the anvil, but we're mostly going to be drawing out some grains. We're going to chop off a little piece of the front end and start making some bits. You look different without the Leia buns. Okay, they are back. I do look different without my Leia buns. We are in the middle of an ad. So, yeah. We shall see how this goes. Once this ad is over, I will start talking a little bit about some housekeeping sort of things. I have a tendency to forget the word housekeeping, or because, you know, when I try and say like the basic gist of things, I don't know why that is. I stole that from Jen and Aliona. The sound is a bit choppy. Maybe wiggle the plug. Let me try that. Okay. Whoops. That was probably not cool. Okay. So hopefully that's about as good as I can get. I don't really have any other plug-ins that I can like try. So hopefully it's not too bad for you guys. Oh, I guess the ad isn't starting. It's going to start soon now. How's that sound going? Is it doing any better? Hopefully it's not too choppy. So yeah. Sounds good for now, but you are closer to the receiver. It's good. Okay. Yeah, I was closer to the receiver at that point because I was trying to, you know, plug everything back in. Hopefully it's still functional. I know I have the sound, uh, like, dampening on right now. Okay, also better over here now. Great. That makes me happy. Hopefully the sound dampening is also functioning correctly, because earlier, I mean, I guess not earlier, but Monday it was not working correctly. I think it was because when I went down to flip the breaker, there was a connection break between the receiver and the transmitter, and it just wanted to shut itself off. So when it reconnected, the sound dampening didn't start up again. I think that's what happened, but I'm not positive. But when I got back, or when I was reviewing the VOD, when I got back is when I got more sound. Oh, there is my water. I was like, where's my water today? I have a regular glass, like a regular tumbler, instead of one of my water bottles. I don't know where any of them. I mean, I know where they are. They're just not clean. I've been really lazy. We did laundry instead of dishes yesterday. So yeah, I have like a pint glass um, from Oktoberfest a couple years ago, and that's what we're drinking from. So I didn't want it to be on my post spice because I was afraid it would wobble around, and yeah, so I'm drinking from a glass, and I don't want it to fall off of the post spice. So, okay, let's see. We've got plenty of heat on that piece of steel right now, but I am going to go over a few just things before I get started hammering. So today we have a brand new video out on the YouTube channel. It is our last interview for Quad State. There is one single video on Quad State left, and that will come out on New Year's Eve. It was pretty convenient that the last Quad State video is going to wrap up the year. I thought that was quite appropriate. So yeah, this one it's an interesting video. So I hope you guys watch it, and yeah. You should install a heat sensor in this forge which triggers sound at certain temperatures. You got mail, I know. Yes. That would be funny. I don't know. I also think it would be really funny to, like, you know, maybe if it had like a little mail flag, you know, because like there's mailboxes, and then, you know, when you got mail, the flag pops up sometimes. That would also be funny. So yeah, we have a new video out today, and so I would be very grateful if you guys would check that out. Let's see. We are going to continue working on these tongs. Hopefully we'll get a pretty decent amount of work in. If we finish them, I think we'll probably finish them on Friday. If we do finish them on Friday, I'll probably end up doing a few more jingle bells on Monday. A very American thing. For us, I don't think I've ever seen that in real life. Really? It probably is kind of an American thing. I mean, I feel like in Europe, there's a lot more like post office boxes, and like the mailboxes for entire neighborhoods are all together and stuff. That could be a completely wrong interpretation, but I guess I just assumed. The challenge is rather the sensor for the temperature, I guess. Yeah, it is. But there's some sort of Arduino-based circuit that could do that. I'm sure. Yeah. It's hard to get a proper thermometer for such a hot piece of equipment. Most of the time, or I guess there's a lot of modern ones that you can use these days, like the infrared ones and stuff. Um, but before like the last like 10, 15, 20 years, most high temperature like kilns and things were actually using the slumping method. So when you got to temperature, you'd have a little cone that would melt and it would hit a sensor and it would automatically turn off the full or the kiln. So um, yeah, I think we could do that now, but you know, it's a relatively recent development, I think. Was there any other thing that I needed to tell you guys about? I don't think there is. I think we should just be able to start hammering. If I think of something else that I needed to talk to you guys about, oh wait, here's one. I do want to remind you guys that I will be streaming on Friday of this week and then Monday of next week. And then I will be taking Wednesday and Thursday off from streaming so that I can celebrate the holidays with my family. I've got a little bit of traveling to do. So we will be taking 2 days off from streaming, and then the week after Christmas, you know, the week of New Year's, I will be back at full force. We will be streaming Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and that does include New Year's Eve. So we will be streaming. I think the difference is indeed space. I understand that in the U.S., the mailbox can be quite a bit away from the house. Here, most properties are smaller and mailboxes are rather directly at the house. Yeah, so my house sits out probably 30 or 40 feet back from the road because we have like a busy road in front of the house. And so our mailbox is on the side of the road. And so we actually have to like walk down the driveway to get our mail. So it's nice when the flag is up, even though we don't have a flag. So, you know. All right, let's do our first heat. Like I said, I think we're going to do that on the press. So let's see. I think that should be a fine location for the inset today. For the most part, I'll try to make sure that I'm a little bit better and more aware of where things are at, so that we don't have the same issue we had going on Monday. My mailbox is about 500 yards from my house. More populated areas such a piece of land would not be affordable. Yeah, definitely. But there's just so much land here in the United States, especially in some of the Midwestern and, you know, Western. So west of the Mississippi, everything is pretty darn open, and you can buy some really large tracts of land for relatively cheap. Hey, oh my God, Pete. Welcome, welcome. Usually the postman comes to the door here. I mean, my parents' house my parents' house has the mailbox like right next to the door. So I don't even have to leave the house to get the mail. All I have to do is like hang out the door to pick it up. It's just, but they live on a street where it's like a house next to a house next to a house. I live on a 1.5 acre plot. So I have a lot more land than my parents do. The pot man or the postman? It's the, house plant pots, right? Right? Not the other type of pots. So hopefully we'll be able to get these tongs done today. I'm pretty excited about them. I have wanted a good set of wolf jaw tongs for a long time. I just don't have a really good set. I do myself. I tend to make a lot of bolt jaw tongs, and I think it would be nice to have a good set of wolf jaw. So it should work pretty well for our next project. It'll help me hold on to the sheet metal, hopefully. Like I said, I do want to put in some V grooves, both horizontally and vertically, so that I can hold a piece of steel parallel to the tongs, as well as holding it perpendicular to the bit of the tongs. Multi-family houses, the mailboxes are often inside the house. The mailman either has a key to the front door or has to ring a bell to deliver the mail. See, that makes sense. Like, there are a few apartment buildings in larger cities where it like the landing has the mailboxes, so the postman opens the door and then puts all of the mail in the little post office boxes, and they're all lined up. So I think that's easier for the mailmen than walking between residential houses with land in between them. Bubba says, I love my pot. Is it terracotta? I'm going to play dumb on this one. Yes. I like terracotta pots, but you have to make sure that there's a hole drilled in the bottom so that the excess water will drain through the plant roots and it won't start molding the plant roots, because that can cause the plants to get sick. I'm not the biggest plant girl. I have a lot of plants that like grow wild around my property. I don't really have any indoor plants, but my mom was a big plant person. She has like spider plants and aloe vera and then some spiky plant things that she keeps around the house. So I know a little bit about plants, but not a lot. Like I said, I don't really own a lot of plants. Just the ones around my house that I hate trimming. You add trim your hedges to make sure they're not like wild. I think the postman, not the postman, I guess it was the postman who was delivering a package. For some reason, the postman wasn't delivering the package to the mailbox. They were delivering it to the door. And we got complained at because the hedges were too overgrown and they were intruding on the path up to the door. But we don't use that door, so I never think to clear it out, Let's do another heat. That's the problem with owning land, right? You have to keep it clean. Now I let it go all the way up to the top. Dang it. succulents. Some water once a week and they live, luckily. See, that's the kind of plants that I think that I could take care of. You know, you water them like once a week and you don't really have to worry about them. You don't even have to water them a lot. However, you know, I'm also of the opinion that I would probably end up drowning them. If you put too much water in a succulent, it does not thrive. And I think that that's the kind of person that I am. You know, I would either kill it by forgetting to water it altogether, or I would water it too much. But they are really cute. So when I worked at Lowe's, which is an American box store, like a hardware store, I worked in the customer service, and so we would get, we sold plants in the spring, and we had a plant guarantee, right, where we would guarantee that the plant would live for so many months. And what tongs do you have in your collection? Most of my tongs are bolt tongs. I've got a 5/8 or 5/8 inch sized tongs. That's these guys. I have a 1/4 inch square sized bolt tongs. I've got a set of knife tongs. I got a set of horseshoe tongs. I got a couple of sets of pickup tongs, but I don't actually have any wolf jaw, so that's why we're making a set, just because, you know, I don't have any in my collection. I know the problem, but they are really resilient. Water pours out the hole at the bottom, and that's that. I mean, that does make sense. But yeah, like I said, I used to work at the, you know, I guess the hardware store. And in the spring, you'd be able to buy plants. And we had this, like, some of the plants we had a year guarantee, and some of the plants we had like a 3-month guarantee. And we would, if your plant died within the guaranteed time span, you could bring it back in and we would give you your money back or another plant, right? So one day I got to customer service and there was a Venus flytrap sitting on the counter, and apparently it was almost dead. It only had like one little leaf on it, but it was still alive. It was clearly still alive. And so I tried to keep it alive on the desk for like a week until my manager told me I couldn't keep it anymore. And I did keep it alive for that extra week. It, like I said, it was almost dead. I kind of like kept it, I don't know, on life support maybe, because I definitely did not perk it up much. But I mean, you know, I kept it on life support until my manager's like, no, you can't just keep that on the desk. It's going to cause a mess and problems. And somebody already got their money back for it, so you have to throw it away. And I was very disappointed. It was my pet Venus flytrap. So I don't know, maybe one of these days I will get a Venus flytrap and I'll put it like on my computer desk. That way, you know, I have another friend besides my cat to keep me company while I'm editing videos. Couldn't you take it home? I wanted to. I asked my manager if I could, but they made me throw it away with them watching. Because if I went to take it home, I could technically be, or it could technically be considered theft. And because of like store policy and stuff. So I had to throw it away while they were watching me just to make sure that I didn't take it home. And I did because, you know, I'm a good little store employee. All right, weird. I know. But it is what it is. all of our crinkle cut fry crinkles, because I'm pretty happy with the length of this grain. And then we're going to cut it off so that we can start making the bit. And the box. Oh. But when you want it back and got it out of the trash, they wouldn't be able to do anything. I mean, each of the registers, including the like the customer service registers, actually are monitored by camera because they want to make sure that you're not, you know, messing with the cash money. Technically, it is still theft. Yes. Hey, Holy Zoiks, welcome. But it's trash. See, honestly, here in the United States, if you go and pick through other people's trash, especially corporate trash, that is also considered theft. It is, I can't remember if it's considered theft from the corporation that threw it away or if it's theft from the garbage company. One or the other, but yeah, in the United States it's considered theft to garbage pick. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, if I were to guess as to why that is, I would actually guess that it is hostile architecture, or like the same, or in the same spirit as hostile architecture. So a lot of big cities. Hey, Bluesy, welcome to the stream. All across the world, not just in the United States, but very much so in the United States. But anytime there's like a park bench or like, you know, a subway station bench or, you know, anywhere that a homeless person might be able to like sleep in public, like outside, they will build like extra armrests on the inside. So like a homeless person can't lay down on the bench, right? It also oftentimes comes in the form of like bumps in concrete or like little spikes under overhangs where, you know, there's like concrete and an overhang, but it's not like a walkway. So I would imagine that it is somewhat in that same spirit. So they don't want people digging through the garbage, you know, and being able to support themselves that way. Does not matter. There is the controversy here regarding people who take edible food out of supermarket trash containers. Typically, it is theft and trespassing if the containers are on the supermarket's property. Yes, it's very much that similar thing. And I mean, I'm not going to get into whether I think it's right or wrong, but it is what it is. Hey, Chris, welcome to the stream. Ooh, snow. Snowmen. We do not actually have any snow. It's like in the 40s or 50s here today. So all of the snow has melted off. It's not even like it's muddy either because it's been gone for quite some time now. So yeah, I hear that at my parents' house, which is about 4.5 hours north of where I live in northern Illinois, they have a lot of snow. They got a lot last weekend. Not everywhere though. They do it where it is potentially dangerous. Here in Belgium, but where you can sleep relatively safely, you can do it. I mean, it's for the most part, it's in like large cities, like New York, Chicago, St. Louis, and I mean, it's not everywhere. It's just certain areas. And Corwin's also right. Liability issues too, dealing with the dumpster. If someone got hurt in the dumpster and they could sue, or if they got sick, they could sue, you know? 555 squeaky unicorns hide 88 check mailboxes by the babbling brook at night. That is a long stretch of, I think that's German words. I'm going to assume that's German words. We have an ad coming up here shortly in about a minute and a half. Or I guess, or maybe 2 minutes, something like that. I think I'm gonna wait until the ad is over for our next heat. I'm gonna move the camera during the ad break because, like I said, our next heat's gonna be here on the anvil face. Like I said, I want to straighten out the square profile, making sure that all of the sides are nice and flat. We're gonna start rounding out those reins. Like I said, I like the length of them. I don't need them to be super long, just long enough to be able to pull things out of the forge. It's a collection of German words difficult to pronounce for non-native speakers. Okay, that makes sense. Especially since I think you said that it was a like kind of a pronunciation guide or like a way to help you learn to pronounce things in German. So that, I mean, it makes sense. You know, if you could pronounce the hardest words in a language, it makes the easier words a little bit easier to pronounce. You know, I have a tendency to want to learn that way. You know, if I'm learning a new technique in blacksmithing or silversmithing or, you know, just in life, I have this tendency to find the hardest iteration of that and try and work through all of the problems. And I learn a lot in a very short amount of time. It was more a joke than a serious guide. Linked it on Discord. Awesome. I'll listen to it. Maybe it'll help me pronounce some of the German words that you use on or in chat, and then I won't look like such a fool when I'm, you know, doing horrible pronunciations and slaughtering the words. Then I just have to worry about you guys making me say all kinds of horrible things, right? I'm sure you guys wouldn't do that. Have me say horrible things. At least not too horrible of things. So today I am using the propane tank from last week. And because we're using the mailbox today, so hopefully we can get the last dregs out of it without it freezing up. I do have a brand new propane tank though that I bought today, so that if we do run out of propane, we'll be able to switch the tanks out and keep on keeping on. Hey, Red Blue Metal, welcome. Welcome, welcome. There are totally so many tongue twisters in English as well. I mean, yeah, definitely. I have a couple stories that I could talk about on that myself, but I will wait until the ad is done. Man, I'm saying a lot today. It must mean that my brain is buffering a little bit extra today. Apologies. I'll try. Well, as soon as I say that I'm saying a lot, I end up saying it more. So we're just going to have to deal with Ray's brain buffer. The ad is over. Sandwich says, you're not bad at German pronunciation, actually. You learned to pronounce Aachen already with the CH. Hey, y'all. Hey, Blue Red Metal. Just in case, I know it looks like you're subscribed, but just in case you're not, hello. Welcome to the stream. Bluesy says, well, it's like Barbara's rhubarb bar, a bit of a tongue twister. Yeah, there are so many tongue twisters. I was watching TikTok, like, I don't know, probably 6 months ago, and there was this thing, and it was how English sounds to a non-English speaker, and it was kind of weird. It really sounded like that. Okay, it's actually Barbara. Riva's Barbara Brandt. Barbara Barbie. Yeah. I'm subscribed. Nice to support interesting streams like yours. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you guys' support, whether you are just watching, whether you hit that follow button, whether you're subscribing. I appreciate all of your eyeballs. Because I mean, just watching supports me, and you know, it makes me want to keep coming out here and streaming. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. It is Latin. Okay. I was gonna say it looks kind of Latin. I took Latin when I was in high school. I took 2 semesters of it. The first semester I actually learned a couple of things, you know, like Voi vas va, vamos van, you know, I am, you are, he, she, it is, etc. And then the second semester that I took it, our teacher got cancer, and so was taking a semester off to be treated. So the entire semester was a substitute, and so all we did was party every single day because the substitute didn't know any better. And so we just got to do whatever we wanted. So we just brought food in all the time, and then we brought in movies that had Latin in them in like the tiniest little, yeah. So needless to say, my mom was not happy, and I did not take Latin again after that. Sum es estis, sumus estis sunt, yes. Sum es sumus estis sunt. All right, oh shoot, I forgot to move the camera. Well, let's move the camera. Give me half a second here. I'll try and make this quick since I forgot to move it while I was on ad time. I told you guys I was going to do it, and then I didn't because I don't know. I tell you, my brain was buffering. Okie doke. Let's do another heat. This one, and then I'll do that one. I think that should be better. I'm going to try and not to be so robotic about which corner I put the inset in. All right, we're getting there. It's starting to flatten out pretty nice. Okay, let's compare the two. All right. So this one is clearly longer than this one. So we're going to have to make up for that. But that's all right because this one's also thicker than this one is. So I want these to be exactly the same. So we're probably going to take a look at this guy in a few. But before we stick this guy in the forge, we are going to round this one out. Nothing is worse than a set of tongs with corners that dig into your hand while you're using them, you know? The problem with Latin on Twitch is that the Latin word for width is rather common and tends to trigger the automated or the auto mod as it has a different meaning in English. Yes. I think it's been a while since I've actually used Latin. I think it's been, so it's been how many years? I graduated in 2004. and I took Latin as a freshman, so that would have made it like 2001. So it's been like 24 years since I've used Latin, guys. I was talking about how English sounds to non-native speakers. Yes, it does sound really strange. Um, like I said, I watched a TikTok about it, and there's a lot of B's in it for whatever reason, which I find a little bit strange because I don't feel like there's that many B sounds in English. I feel like B is not one of the one of the letters that I would pick in Wheel of Fortune. It came out somewhere in the 70s. Do not remember when, but hey, I'm old, you know. That's all right, though. That's all right. Let's see. Hey, Jack. Welcome in. I'm doing all right. We are going to continue working on our, I think I called them wolf jaw tongs. That's what we're trying to make. So yeah, we are almost done drawing out the reins on the first one, or I guess we are done drawing them out. So our next heat is going to start rounding them so that we don't have to squeeze with corners. I hate squeezing a set of tongs that has corners. It always ends up giving me blisters and it hurts. So I'm going to round out the grips, the reins. Yeah, the reins. And they're going to look kind of like these guys. These are probably my favorite tongs that I've ever made. They have really nice and even and thin reins. And the rivet isn't too bad either. I made these during the first week that I started streaming last year. Nobody watched me make these, but I did make them. The first like 10 years of my life, I heard English in song on the radio without understanding a word. That it sounds, or that's kind of like when I watch anime, right? I will recognize, or like, I watch anime subtitled, not dubbed, and so I listen to all of the words, and I do read the subtitles, but it's hard for me to associate the sounds that I'm hearing with the letter, with the written text that I'm reading, because you know the subtitles aren't one-to-one with what's being, like, what is being said. So, but I can still recognize words. So if I hear them out of context of, you know, the anime, then I recognize the word. I just don't know what it means. We were having a chat in Japanese person's, or in a Japanese person's stream who's trying to learn English. The discussion involved words like two and two and two. Yes. T-O, T-W-O, and T-O-O all have different meanings. Barring basic binaries, bundles of bowels bats blast through the bees. Yes. Yes, many bees. Goodness. But yeah, I totally understand that, like, how it would be like listening to English radio, or, you know, watching Hollywood movies in English, but not being able to understand that English. It would, you know, you start recognizing words here and there, but you don't know what they mean. I don't know if that makes it easier to learn the language if you, like, when you actually go to like formally learn it, or if it makes it harder. There, and there. So many English-speaking people don't know the proper usage of them. Yes, T-H-E-R-E, T-H-E-I-R, and T-H-E-Y, apostrophe R-E. Yes. Eeriest creature in creation. Study English pronunciation. I will teach you in my verse sound like corpse, horse, and worse. I will keep you, Susie, busy. Make your head with heat, grow dizzy, tear in eye, your dress will tear. Oh, shall it? Oh, hear my prayer, and so yeah. So yeah, it's just a whole bunch of, and it also reminds me of like when people in the United States have this habit of like getting Chinese and Japanese characters as tattoos, right? And then you see like someone who can read in Japanese or Chinese, and they'll try and translate them, and some of that stuff is so funny, like spring rolls or stupid or all kinds of craziness. There are a lot of Japanese words that are the same but mean something totally different. Yes, very much so. Let's do another heat. Like I said, this time I want to start trying to round out the corners a little bit. We're also going to straighten things a bit by doing this. From 4 sides to 8 sides. We're going to do a couple more heats on this just to make sure that I can take some more of these facets out. Like I said, I want them to be relatively smooth so that they're actually pleasant to use. I won't use them if they're uncomfortable. Ordinarily, I would never hammer a piece of steel that is this cold, but when it is nice and black like this, it is the best time to kind of smooth things out. So we're going to heat this up again and see what we can do. Just compare heart, beard, and herd, dies and diet, lord and word, sword and ward, retain and Britain. Mind the letter how it's written. Now I surely will not plague you with such words as plaque and ague. I don't know that I'm familiar with that word, even as an English speaker. But be careful how you speak. Say break and stake, bleak and streak, coven, oven, how and low, script, receipt, show, poem, and toe. Due to correct oversight, and oversight was prevented. Right? Oversight, it's one of those words, like the both words in that sentence mean completely different things. I think the worst version of that is the F word. The curse word, the F word, here in the United States, we use it as a noun, as a verb, as an adjective, and sometimes a adverb. Yes, indeed. So yeah, it was always the fun thing to do in college when, like, as a freshman, to sit there and see how long of a sentence you can come up with using the word, or like the F word. It is the most versatile word. Yes, yes, it is. I'm not gonna read a sentence with that word though, because I try to keep things PG. Forewarn, it's a noun too. Forewarn, yes. And then there's all of the words that are spelled the same but pronounced different, you know? Always fun. Learning English. I never knew that. Yes, There are so many words that are spelled the same but pronounced completely different. English is a really hard language to learn, though, you know? Or it can be. It can be. This is the worst part, is rounding it out, like a true round. We're trying to take all of the facets out. And I'm always bad at this because I always try and do this. Or I always end up stopping before it's done. You know, it's good enough, right? I think that's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Once again, I stop before I'm like truly done, but good enough. All right, so the next thing that we're going to do is we are going to put the other side in the forge, and we want to match these two. So we've got plenty of length to draw out, and we also need to round that out. We have a lot of extra material here at this end as well, so we're going to chop those off and turn it around. But I think I want to match the other side of the reins first. That's bad, chat. How's the metal smacking going? I think it's doing pretty good. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with the reins on this guy. The body of these tongs is really, really long. I think originally I cut these to be another set of bolt tongs, and I want these to be a regular set of wolf jaw, so we're gonna chop off the end of this guy. Legitimately curious, does your swage have a round slot that's roughly that diameter? It does, but it's buried under a whole bunch of stuff, so I'd have to sit there and move it. Also, the stand is really tight, so the last time I actually had to like turn it upside down and like shake it to get the stupid block out. But I mean, I don't know. If you guys think that I should be more precise on my round, I can try it. Or not try it, but I can do it. Let's unbury this real fast. All right, let's see. Are you stuck again? Yes, you are. All right, so that's roughly the right diameter right there. Don't even need to justify. I just couldn't remember what it looked like. Yeah. Dang it, nigh on, not nay on. No, I wasn't trying to judge you. Oh, okay. I don't know. I mean, maybe I should, you know. I don't have any really pretty sets of tongs. Maybe I should. Of course I fall over on it. I'm okay though. I promise, guys, I'm okay. How do I get it out of here, though? Is my problem, right? You know what? This is going to cause me way too much problems, so I'm not going to do it. I am going to flip it back up, though. There we go. I got my shoe caught in it. Kind of dangerous with this thing. It's kind of sharp. That's all right. This construction looks like it's locking for someone not wearing steel-toe shoes or falling on their feet. Yeah. Well, it fell on my foot, but it fell on my steel toe, so yeah. Ugh. Do not touch that. That would be a bad thing. All right. One of these days, guys. No, I'm fine. I'm fine. I promise this time. Although I will say that is a strike because, yeah, that was kind of not cool. I tuned back in just in time to see her go down. Yeah, I'm fine. I promise. I think my pants are not fine, but that's all right. You bumped the heating forge, and I was concerned you would come, or it would come. I did. I did not notice that I bumped the forge. Well, I promise I'm all right. I won't do that again, though. I shouldn't have done that over there. I should have, or normally I do that over here, and there's more space between the anvil and there. What are you doing, miss? I don't know. I am working on a set of tongs. So we wanted to see if we could smooth out the handle on these tongs, and instead I fell. So, you know, I'm fine. It happens occasionally in here. The floor is a little bit slick. It's content. Dangerous content, but content. Instead of the F word, use an overly versatile word, right? All right. Let's actually go back to forging. I'm going to move that camera over there, and that way we'll be able to see the press. Goodness. This week has been one of those weeks, guys. I apologize. All right. I should be more careful. All right, let's move this camera. There we go. The ad starts in about 2.5 minutes. I think I could beat that ad though, so we're going to flip the cameras and we're going to do another heat. As long as you enjoyed in it and measure the risks. Okay, you bumped the yellow frame and pushed it toward the forge. It just barely fit under the piece sticking out. The piece sticking out is actually being held on in the forge by the yellow piece. So, I mean, it might have fallen, maybe. It could have been a problem. I'll admit it. There you go with your ad beating again. Yes. I always try and beat my ads. There I go with my dropping things again. Forget that. It's still a little on the warm side, but it'll cool down faster now that I've touched it. So this week has been one of those weeks, you know. Monday we had that circuit pop, and today I fell, you know. Nothing, no permanent damage, but still, you know, chaos is reigning today or this week in stream world. So I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll do my best to, you know, not scare you guys good. Goodness. So yeah, I actually have this yellow thing here because it's a tool rest, or I use it as a tool rest. It's a sawhorse, and it's a foldable one. It's really nice. For half a second, I thought that maybe it's a shop. Things happen. Yeah, I mean, it is, you know. And I do have the 3 strikes and you're out rule specifically so that if I, you know, I don't damage myself or my shop too much. So yeah, falling was 1 strike. I, you know, I'll admit that was kind of dangerous, and I don't want to do that again. So hopefully it'll stay at 1 strike. Usually I think we're pretty good at staying at 1 strike. If we strike out, or, you know, if we have any accidents at all. But I do have like a first aid kit, and I have a fire extinguisher, and I have buckets of water, and, you know, so I do have ways of dealing with accidents and making sure that they aren't going to cause permanent damage to either myself or my equipment, my property, you know. I do my best. Safety may not be number 1, but it is definitely always on my mind. One of these days, though. One of these days. I will say that, you know, it was a much less damaging accident than when I accidentally dropped welding wire down my on my leg, because it burned straight through my pants and into my skin. So you didn't get to see that. I will have to report you to some ad projection organization for beating the ads and even bragging about it, like PETA. It stands for People for Ethical Treatment of Ads, right? See, you know, I think that my partner, the butler, would probably be upset with me for beating ads, because the ads are the butler's babies. That's what the butler does for a living, is make ads. So they're all babies, right? All right. Let's do another heat. If I do enough heats successfully, then I'll get into a Zen state, right? Or I guess a flow state. the goal with blacksmithing. Nah, flow state is for water-based tasks. I only know flow charts. So my partner describes getting really mentally locked in on a task to reaching a flow state where you just are, you don't really have to think about what you're doing, you just automatically do it. It's like a muscle memory thing. So, yeah. I try to reach a flow state in my blacksmithing. That way I can pay more attention to other things besides the actual moving of the metal. Once I'm happy with, how it's working. Then I can actually pay more attention to safety and pay more attention to you guys and, the next couple steps. Things come out a little bit nicer. So, I don't know. What do I want to talk about next? I had some prepared topics, but I covered a lot of them already. So next week, I am going to visit my family. And we were kind of trying to figure out what our accommodations were going to be. So we finally figured out that we are leaving, or when we're leaving and coming back. So now our ham products. Yeah. So now that we know when we're leaving and when we're coming back, we can kind of check hotel prices or like RV locations. We had thought about bringing the van and like staying in the van, but there aren't any like campgrounds that are open this time of year in our area. And RV parks tend not to have like public bathrooms. When you're staying in a tent, obviously you have to have like a building that's like a bathroom, or you go in the woods and you like bury things. But RV parks kind of they assume that you have your own restroom. And while we do have an emergency one, I told the butler, I was like, I'm not using that. So you're gonna have to either find a campground that has a public restroom in it, or we're gonna have to find like a hotel or something. So we're kind of debating what we want to do with that. There's also we don't really have a good option for like insulation or heat in there, except for when you turn on the vehicle and the vehicle's heater. So we were talking about putting that heater in, but it will like instantly deplete our battery. And it's less important when we have shore power, because then our battery is constantly being charged. And so the draw from the heater isn't going to overwhelm the battery, because the battery is just plugged in. But I don't know if the insulation will keep the heat inside the vehicle overnight well enough for me to like risk it. I kind of feel like I would rather do that closer to home, because the trip we're taking is about 4.5 hours away this year. And it would suck if it was freezing in the middle of the night and we just, didn't have any way to like be warm, I guess. Just have to like knock on my parents' door at like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's that holiday traveling, Are any of you going or are any of you guys going to be traveling over the holidays? I know a lot of people do. All right. Let's do one more heat. Don't they have some space in their home you can stay? I do. But we don't like to be a bother. This time I'm only dropping equipment and not myself. Okay, let's compare the two Tongs blanks together. Alright, I'm going to do the next heat here on the anvil to kind of flatten this out. We will end up getting a little bit more length by doing that. And then we'll compare again and see how close we are. Well, let's not bother to stay there at night instead of knocking at 2 a.m. That's right. I haven't decided, or we haven't decided what we're going to do. We might actually stay... Wait, what am I doing? That's not what I wanted to do. That is... We might end up staying with my sister. I'm not sure. We will see. My sister is hosting Christmas this year, so it'd be convenient to stay with her. We do have a few other like locations that we got to go to though. We've got to go and see the Butler's family as well. So we shall see. I got another day that I think I can, dilly dally around before I have to like make solidify our arrangements, I guess. So yeah, I don't think that we're going to be staying in the van this time. Later on, when we actually have some more insulation and we're like sure about our heating situation, then we might do the van thing. But until then, we might need a Butler emote. I don't know. Do the Butler's family know they are the Butler's family? No. Because the Butler's family doesn't not, well, I don't know that even my family know that the Butler is referred to as the Butler. I do know that some of my family watches the stream, but most of them watch like without the sound on. Like my mom and my sister watch the stream, but they don't like participate in chat. And then a lot of times they're only watching like the visuals and not the audio because they watch it in their office, so they can't really like be fully engaged. Butler writes. Do you guys need a Butler emote? I don't know what I would do for a Butler emote. Like, what would you what would you think that the Butler should or the emote should be? Should it just be the word the Butler, or should it be like a little pixel art of a dude in a black tie or a black tie suit or something? What would you guys or what would you suggest for a Butler emote? Ping. I'm gonna move the camera. The classic elderly man in fancy clothes carrying a tray, right? That might work. I do kind of have a surprise for you guys regarding the Butler and being on camera at some point. You guys actually did get to see the Butler on camera once. When we were at Quad State, the Butler showed me up by being able to crack the whip, and I could not crack the whip. There was a leather vendor at Quad State that was selling whips, like Indiana Jones style whips, and the vendor showed me how to crack the whip, but I couldn't get it to crack. But the Butler could do it. Like the Butler did it like the first time. A suit with a camera for a face. That would be quite appropriate, you know? A suit with a camera face. All right, let's do our first heat at the anvil. So that end here is a little bit fat, and so because it's cold, I'm gonna stick it in there. We're gonna focus in on this side right here. The whip cracking Butler. I don't know if I like that. There are different sorts of connotations to that. I have been watching back a lot of the Quad State footage. Like when I was doing a lot of the interviews, I was watching the stuff that was directly involved in the interview. But now that I'm doing a full behind the scenes kind of documentary thing, I'm actually able to kind of look at all of the footage that we got, and it makes me want to get a whip and like just practice just so that I am capable of cracking a whip. The ones that were there that were the vendor was selling were really long. When I was a teenager, I used to know somebody who had a shorter whip, and I was able to get that one to crack. But the long ones, I don't know why I could not get it to crack, and it might just be that it's not you learn it once and you just always know how to do it. I think it's one of those skills that you kind of have to practice for a while and like kind of keep up the work. So I feel like if I really want to learn to crack a whip, I need a whip to crack and to practice with. So I don't know. Maybe instead of playing video games, I will start learning how to make whips. I don't think I would do that on stream because it's not really like what I'm trying to do as far as like, because we're a metalworking stream, we're not a leatherworking stream. But it would be fun to learn. So maybe it'll become my hobby, learning to weave a bull whip. But yes, I was a little jealous that the butler could do it and I couldn't. How is it doing? I think it's doing all right. Just making sure that there is enough propane in the tank. Like I said, this is the tank that we used all week, so it's already had 3 streams on it. Usually I can only do about 3 streams, but because we're using the small one, it takes a lot less PSI on the propane, so we should be able to power it for a while, but I keep hearing like these little wavers in the flame, and I want to make sure that I catch it when it's starts to either freeze up or get really low. The pressure doesn't like rapidly decline like it does with the big forge, so we shouldn't get that until it's actually empty. So I just got to make sure that we're not empty. All right. Let's check these 2 out. We're not that far off. One more heat on the face of the anvil and we should get the length that we need. There's a little bit of thickness in here that we can kind of make. And I think it'll be all right. Did you try the tank in water yet? Yes, I did. The tank was in water on Monday's stream and also on Friday's stream. So it worked pretty well. It didn't freeze at all, so I was pretty excited. But like I said, we don't actually have that rapid depressurization with the mailbox, so I should not need the water to keep it from freezing this time. It's really because with the big forge, we have so much more propane going through the system that we are rapidly depressurizing the tank, and so it does get extra cold and it freezes up. So on Monday, I filled the bucket with warm water, and that warm water ended up ice cold by the end, but there was no ice in it or on the tank. So it works beautifully. You guys were right. Not that I didn't think you guys would be right. I knew that I was going to forget to take the tank out of the water bath and then it would freeze in the water bath, which I did do on Friday. I forgot to take the tank out. So by Monday, when I went to take the tank out, there was a crust of ice on the top and there's a little rust ring at the bottom of the bucket. So yeah. Maybe be a little bit more conscious of that when I'm cleaning up after stream. So, but like I said, I do also have a second tank that has a little bit in the bottom, and between the two of those, I should be able to get all stream powered. And then I also have a full tank of propane that I just bought today. I do the same, right? Hey, Mahalo, welcome to the stream. How's it going? It's going pretty good. Overall, it's going pretty good. We are at 1 strike because I fell today. I didn't injure myself or anything, but it was kind of like, you know, I don't want to encourage myself to fall. So, yeah. We are at 1 strike. Hopefully we will, you know, we'll be fine and we won't have to do any. We only have like an hour left of stream. So, you know, I think that I can manage an hour without getting another strike. As long as I don't pick up the piece that's hot. I'm totally liable to do that. I will pick up a hot piece of steel, you know, when I'm not thinking. I almost did it already. That's why I ended up, hey Lexi, that's why I ended up quenching off the other rain, because I almost picked it up while it was still hot. Okay. Alrighty, coolies. We're about where we want to be. So our next heat is going to be us taking all of these corners off and kind of rounding them out a little bit. Doesn't have to be perfectly round so that we can match both sides, but I don't want corners to dig into my hand. Like I said, there is nothing worse than having to squeeze a pair of tongs and them having corners, because then the corners will dig into your hand and you'll get blisters and it'll just be uncomfortable on the whole. I want to change our angle real fast, just so that I get a little bit of variety. Trying to remember, you know, some days I remember better than others to change my angles up. Alrighty. So we've got an ad coming up in about 2 minutes. And I think that our next heat is going to be after that ad. I want to allow the material to get a little bit hotter. I think that I have the mailbox a little bit lower than normal. So maybe it's that I'm just not waiting as long as I normally do. But it's just the metal's not getting quite as hot as it normally does in the mailbox. It's probably my patience. I'm so bad at that. So no one's traveling for the holiday. That's probably actually a good thing. Traveling can be quite the chore, especially during the holidays. You know, when the roads are full and the airports are too. It can be quite the challenge to get where you need to go in time. So this weekend, I've got to do a whole bunch of jingle bells so I can get them all ready for everybody who is getting a jingle bell this year from us. Um, so if I don't get them all done on Saturday when I'm planning on doing another set of them, I might end up pulling them into Monday's stream just because I want to make sure that they're nice and done before the holiday, like my trip. Um, so, like I said, we will be streaming Friday and Monday, and then Wednesday and Friday of next week we will be taking off so that I can visit my family for the holidays. But yeah, I want to finish my presents before I get there. One year I made a kitchen cart for my mom because I used to do a lot of furniture. So I did some angle iron twists for legs, and then I put together this like cart. And my mom told me that hey Yankee, welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Bungalow Glow, hello, welcome. Hey guys, thank you so much for that raid. Welcome in, welcome in. Today we are working on a set of wolf jaw tongs. So most of the tongs in my shop are bolt jaw tongs. This is the design. It's called bolt jaw, and they're called them that because if you're holding on to a bolt, you got the head down here and the rest of the bolt coming out of the top, and it makes it really convenient to pick up a bolt. Apologies to those of you who are experiencing the ad break right now. It's always a pain in the butt when you raid in during an ad break. Mound of Meat, when I started welding, I would weld chain links together and made an awesome chair, and I forgot it at my last apartment. Ooh, that is sad. It's weird. We keep running into one another on different streams. Yes. So yeah, I guess I've got an ad break. I got another 10 minutes on the ad break. But yeah. So once that ad break's done, we can get on with things. So yeah, we are making a set of wolf jaw tongs. So most of my tongs are bolt jaw, which means they have this like little circle of extra space. So if you are hanging onto a bolt with these tongs, it does not interfere with the head. It also makes them very convenient for working with railroad spikes and other things that have like bulbous ends. It also helps me with longer material because I can balance things a little bit better, like longer things when I have that extra space and I can get a little bit closer to that center point, center of gravity. So today, like I said, we're making a set of wolf jaw tongs, which I think this is my only set of wolf jaw tongs. So they're kind of like, these are a set that are designed for round stock, but they have a much shorter, like little grabby bit than the bolt jaw tongs. So we are just working on rounding out the second rein. So after that, I will be cutting them to size. I used a relatively long piece of stock, so I don't need this much material for the jaws and the rivet hole, so we're probably going to cut them off around here. So this side right here is all done. It's nice and rounded. It's pretty comfy in the hand. So now we're making its mate. Thank you so much, KW Only, for that follow, as well as Luther. Thank you so much for those follows. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. Banshee Cosplay, also, thank you so much for that follow. Like I said, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the community. I am a blacksmith. I stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 2:30 Eastern U.S. time. However, next week I will be off on Wednesday and Friday for the holiday. So I will be here Friday and Monday, but then I will be taking 2 streams off. All right, let's do another heat. Yeah, that's a good place to put the inset this time. I've been paying close attention to where I put my inset. So I've drawn these down to the right length. And now I'm taking the corners off so they're much more comfortable to use to hold my stock. We're also taking this opportunity to straighten these guys out. And when we go from a square profile to a round profile, the first thing that we do is we go octagonal. Square to octagon, and then to round. All right, so we're pretty flat now. Couple more heats. I got to do this like little end here, and I want to do another heat just to kind of make sure that everything's nice and rounded out. If anybody has any questions about what's going on today, please don't hesitate to ask. I love answering questions about blacksmithing and just metalworking in general. I have a background in blacksmithing, in silversmithing, in jewelry, casting. I've made some sharps. I'm not a fan of making sharps, but I have in the past. We are gearing up for a armor project starting probably the week of New Year's. I see you switched to the mailbox forge today. Makes sense for the tongs. Yes, this is my large forge. It's really large, and I can fit a lot of material in it. But when I'm doing something small like this tong rain, it's a lot more efficient for me to use my mailbox. The mailbox is actually made out of a single fire brick. So this is a fire brick. So the mailbox is pretty much a hole drilled through one of these guys, and then a hole at the top where the fire or the flame can go through. So it's a really neat tool. It also allows me to use a little bit more of my propane. The big forge, I always end up leaving like this much in the bottom of my propane tanks because it just, it won't come out at a high enough pressure. But with the small forge, I can use most of a tank and not have to worry about it. So I am, like I said, I am towards the end of my tank, and I'm just trying to make sure that it is, I still have enough to finish this project. I do have 2 other tanks that we can go through or we can use and switch to if this one decides to be empty. I just be glad it's not bloodsmithing. Oh, I missed one. Sandwich says blacksmithing. What part did I miss? Blacksmithing, silversmithing, goldsmithing. Can't just decide on a color eventually. Well, I mean, I guess technically I did choose a color. You know, I did in the end, I kind of chose black, you know, as my favorite color. You know, my sweatshirt and most of my clothes are black, you know. But I do occasionally like to do a little bit of silversmithing and goldsmithing. It's fun. All right, let's do another heat. I just can't decide. So black is the new gold. Yes. Black is the new gold. So we went from square to octagonal, and now we're going into round. Kind of rounding this guy out a little bit. We're adding a few extra facets, but it'll be all right. This also straightens out these reins. So they're easier to work with. All right, I think I will have to change the propane tank. Apologies, I try not to do this on stream if I can manage it, but it often does not happen. All right, let's take a look at these guys. We're comparing the two. We want them to be as close to identical as possible. I think we're all right. We did have a little bit here where this is a little bit longer. It's not quite perfect, but it's good enough. All right, so I'm going to leave these here for the moment. Emo. A little bit. I will admit that I'm a little emo. Depending on the profession and surrounding, black has always been the gold standard, right? All right, we're going to turn off the forge, and it's down here. This guy is going to go over there. Whoop. Close that guy. And now let's pull the regulator out. Woo! That guy is pretty empty. This guy has quite a bit in it. We'll use this guy. And all right. Start this guy back up. We are back in business. Okay. So, the hot one is on this side. We are going to quench it off so that we can handle it. And then drop it. Hey, JK Dudson. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. Red smithing is for copper. Red smithing is for copper, although I tend to lump in copper smithing with silver smithing because copper is much cheaper to get a hold of than silver, so it's a lot easier to practice silversmithing by using copper. Okay, so we have two sides of our tongs. And check that out. They're actually relatively close in size. Super exciting on that. So I do want to cut them off at about here. So we're going to do that real fast. I'm going to take them over to the chop saw. The chop saw's over there. It's not on the screen for you guys. Apologies. But you will hear it. All right. That's good. Right there. Okay, so that's the drill. There's the chop saw. I gotta plug it in. Make sure that they are the same length. Sorry, I know you guys can't see this, but there we go. One other thing I gotta do, unfortunately, before I come back on into view. Give me half a second. There we are. So when you use the chop saw to cut things, there's always like a little bit of flashing on the end of it, and it's kind of sharp. So I always try and cut that off before I put them in the forge. That way I don't accidentally cut myself. You can see the lights dim when it turns on, yes. Any lurker with the sound on is definitely awake now. Apologies. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that it was going to be that loud. All right, we're going to have to change tongs. I did not realize it was going to be that long. I'm sorry. I mean, that loud. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I do have... Do you enjoy making tongs? Sometimes. It is, you know, I kind of like them. I have this habit of making a new set of tongs anytime I need, or anytime I do a new project, or like a project I've never done before, just so that I can hold them a little bit better and a little bit easier. So I guess I do enjoy making tongs. I like to think I'm okay at blacksmithing, but nothing makes me feel dumb as fast as tongs, right? So, one of the things that does make me feel a little bit dumb about tongs is after I make the bit, when I start trying to make the little section that you rivet together, because we're going to make what's called a boss, which is the little section that you rivet together. I always forget which angle I need to go. Do I need to go this angle or this angle to kind of make sure that they fit together in a cross? Kind of like a scissors, you know? Like this angle right here, I always forget. The fucking boss. Yes, the boss. It is the worst. The boss is my boss. So yeah. I think these will make a pretty nice set of tongs. They're a little shorter than, you know, my set of bolt tongs, but that is to be expected, you know? We got that extra length from the jaws, or I guess the neck of the bolt jaw. So these ones actually work pretty well. These are a specific size 1/4 inch stock, and it makes it a lot easier to hold on to them. They don't move. Whereas the other size is a little bit too wide for hanging onto the handle of the tongs. All right. Goodness gracious. So I think that we're going to be finishing these guys up on Friday. Today I think that we can definitely make the jaws of the tongs. So we're going to flatten out this section right here and kind of make like the little area that closes down on the piece of stock. And then I think, and we're probably only going to do one side. We might just do, you know, the jaws and the boss on one side and then start the other side on Friday. We're starting to get a little bit late into the stream, so that's kind of where I think we're going to end at that I think that's where we're going to end for the day. We'll see how far we can get. The rest of this is going to be very hand heavy, but that's all right because people like seeing hand forging. Probably a lot better than seeing press forging. The press is interesting to watch, but not quite as interesting as hand forging. See, this is where, if I compare these tongs with the tongs that we were just using. So these are both bolt tongs, and I made both of them, right? I made this one first, and then I made this one. But you can kind of tell the difference, if you look at the rivets, like I never finished this rivet, and you can kind of tell that the reins on this I kind of schlepped together a little bit. So we'll see what we do or how this set comes out. I hope it comes out pretty good. It'd be nice to have a set of pretty tongs for once. A lot of my tongs are kind of ugly. All right, do we have enough heat? I think I'm going to wait just a little bit longer just so that we can get some the heat to soak in towards the center of the steel. We're going to get a lot more even movement if we do that. So as we're waiting for that, I think I'm going to try and explain what we're kind of doing, what our next couple of heats are going to be. So they are made for working, not beauty contests. See, you can totally have a functional piece that is also art, And that's my goal. My goal for all of my pieces is that they're kind of pretty and functional. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our other one that's hot, and we're going to place it on the edge of the anvil. And we're going to hammer directly over the corner. So our hammer is half on and half off. And what we're going to be doing is isolating the steel and creating a shelf. So we're going to thin out a section and have a severe step on that bottom. And that's called isolation. So that is what we're going to be doing for this next heat. Yeah, just saying I would take function over beauty, though, if I had to make a choice. I mean, that's fair enough. These are tools that need to be used, I told my wife the same thing. She didn't appreciate it. I mean, I like function, and I definitely want things to function more than because if it's only pretty and it doesn't function, then that's a problem, especially with a tool that you are making to be used, That is the case. All right, let's do our first heat on the jaws of these tongs. All right, so we're going to go on this side. Now we got to be a little bit careful so that we can make sure that our section that we isolate isn't moving around. So we've got a nice shelf hanging out there. Gonna take a couple more heats to kind of clean that up a bit. We also want to thin this out just a hair. I don't want it to be quite that thick when I grab onto stuff, I want to be able to I don't know, I just think it'll be prettier if it's thinner. I had a reason and now I don't know. Some things don't apply the same to women. Sometimes pretty means it functions better, like a polished hammer face. Exactly, Mahalo, exactly. That's why I try to get, my hammers always start with a mirror face. There's a couple dings in this one that I gotta redress eventually. But yeah, I always try and start with a mirror finish on the faces of my hammers. Because any dings or nastiness that is on the hammers is going to transfer at every blow onto your material. And you don't want to have to sit there and like file or grind it all off all the time. But the beauty is a side effect of function. So function before beauty still applies. I mean, it is the case. However, I have made some things that are absolutely gorgeous and not amazingly functional. All right, I'm out of water, so I'm going to grab a Gatorade real fast. Gatorade. Man, they're not as cold as they were or like they usually are. They don't have enough, or I don't have enough space in my fridge, so I put my Gatorades just outside the door because it's winter time and so it gets cold, right? And it's just like using a fridge, right? Function and pretty in the same tool, that's just nonsense. That's newly purchased. We've gotten to the Gatorade part of the program. Yes, we have gotten to the Gatorade part of the program. Really, it's because I'm too lazy to fill up the jerry can, All right, let's do another heat before this ad break. Talk. Not sponsored, but could be. I mean, if Gatorade wants to sponsor me, I'm all for it. Or any other sports drink. I think Gamer Sups might, they do a lot of streaming collabs. Okay. I want nice parallel edges. So we're gonna fix those so they're nice and parallel. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to turn a quarter turn and we're going to hammer down this section here, which is where we're going to throw the rivet hole, like the boss. So this means I have to figure out what angle I got to do this at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up, and then we're going to take a look at another set of tongs so that I don't screw up the angle. Ray doing the commercials. When you forge for hours, you lose a lot of liquids and electrolytes. I use XXX brand drink to re-energize and forge ahead. Yes. That is great copy. That's great copy. Okay. If I take a look at these guys, these don't really have the angle. Right? So let me show these to you. They don't really have an angle. Or maybe they do. They have like a little bit of an angle right there. But it's not like, yeah, because we've got a pass over angle like this guy. And then these ones don't really have that. So I don't know. Maybe I just need to not worry about a pass over angle. Maybe I just need to like flatten the whole thing. So then it can just be like so. These are kind of bent. Like the handles are bent so that they line up. But there is no angle there. I think I can manage that. Haven't seen you use the tiny ones. What are those for? They're better for round stock. And I like using bolt tongs just so that I can choke up on my pieces of steel a little bit better. These would actually work pretty decent for this, I think. But yeah, so it's kind of the same. It's just I would have to, reach behind me a little bit further, I can use them. They're just, a preference thing. Like I said, could use them. I just don't. But for these, I kind of want to do a little bit of a V groove, like a V bit, for both vertical and horizontal. So we'll see how well this goes. So we're in the middle of an ad break. So once this ad break is over, I will take a look at continuing to forge. I guess not taking a look at, I will continue to forge. Yep. Goodness gracious. It's crazy that we've already been streaming for 2 hours. I guess it doesn't feel like it's been that long. So that's a bit crazy. So yeah, I don't use a lot of stock that would fit into those particular tongs. I try to use tongs that are going to fit the best for whatever it is that I am working on at any given time. So they work for some stuff, but they're kind of more specifically tailored. That's why I tend not to use them. I did buy them though. I didn't really buy them to use them. I bought them as a template so that when I went to go and make my own tongs, I had a nice, pretty pair to like model them off of. Because I think these are a really pretty pair of tongs, and it'd be nice to have a pretty set. Okay, let's do another heat. But first, I think I'm gonna change my angle. Yeah, because of reasons. I hope I didn't lose that much spare time. I only have about 30 minutes of per clip on my close-up camera, and it had stopped. So I hope I didn't lose that much. I don't think I did. Alrighty, let's do another heat. Time for more smacking. Yes, definitely time for more smacking. All right, so we've got it. It's not too bad. Straighten things out just a little bit. Not too bad. We're going to heat up again. Kind of see about fixing that diagonal. We might thin those out just a little bit further. I'll decide what I want to do. But yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. Yeah. I gotta remember, right, how to make these work. We're gonna take a look at our template again. Okay. So we turn them, we start this direction, and then we turn them 90 degrees and put them over the opposite edge. And then we turn them another 90 degrees and put another set down right there. So I think that's what we're going to do. I got to remember, it's the worst making the boss. I always forget how that works. Always forget. Not the best. Oh, goodness. But yeah, we're getting there. We're really starting to get there. Like I said, I do need to kind of lengthen and thin out the bit again a little bit. I think I made it a little bit short, but I think it'll be all right in the end. I think it'll be all right. We are, like I said, we're making a set of wolf jaw, so we can add a little bit of extra length by squishing in the isolated section where we have the boss. We'll also kind of be able to like tilt it a little bit. Okay. So I think I want to do 2 more heats on this time. I want to really focus in on that boss. We'll do a little bit of cleanup work on Friday, and we will also make the jaws and the boss on the other side. We do have a little bit of drawing out on the reins just to kind of clean those up a little bit, make sure that we don't have to find that angle randomly. We'll be able to like bend those, make them functional. So if there's anybody that you guys would like to raid, please let me know. Otherwise, I will, find somebody. Maybe JK is streaming. But yeah, I'll do 2 more heats. Should be pretty good for that. Let's do our first. Should be fine. and then this direction. Yep. So we've got a decent set right there. That way it'll cross over just like so. Now let's clean that up a little bit. I think I pushed that forward a little bit too much. I think it was a little bit out of focus. Let me make sure that I've got it in focus. I don't know. I think it was in focus. Maybe my eyeballs are not in focus. So yeah. I've had a lot of fun today forging, and I'm glad that you guys have joined me. So, like I said, I will be back on Friday. We're going to finish up the other side of these tongs. That includes, we'll probably drill the hole into the boss of these just because I don't really want to have to deal with, like, drifting them open or punching them, I guess. This has been great. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, like I said, I'll probably drill the holes in these just so that it's a little bit faster and we can make sure that we get them done on Friday. Like I said, on Monday we might be doing some jingle bells. We might be doing another type of filler project. Maybe we'll do like some nails or there was that one ornament that Jack showed me. We might do something like that. There's a good chance we'll do some of a filler project, like a one-day thing. So maybe it'll be like a hook. Maybe it'll be an S hook. It could be like nails. I don't know. Hey, that's my name. Yeah. I was talking about that ornament that you asked me if you told me I should do. Try it out, like the scrolled ornament. So I don't know. I might try that on Monday. We'll see. It depends on if I have a thin enough piece of stock. I think you could have a lot of fun with that. I probably could. But I need to see if I have like a long and thin enough piece of stock to do that. It would be. I would like to try it. So we'll see if we can't do that on Monday. Your swage block will be invaluable, and it's faster heats and less hard work. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's a lot less forging and a lot more precision hits. The only thing you have to use the big forge, you'll have to use the big forge probably once you roll the coils. That's also true because the mailbox is a little bit on the thin side. I don't think that we'll be able to fit the whole ornament in the mailbox. All right, last heat. We're gonna do one more heat for the day. Clean up this boss a little bit. not bad. We're still a little bit on the thick side, so we'll be able to clean that up a little bit. We've got plenty of space for that rivet hole on that boss. Got a little bit of cleanup on it just to make it look a little bit prettier, like so. You know, so they're not like hard corners on there. But not bad at all. We'll do all right. We've got another side to go, though. So that's where we're at today. Alrighty, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I've had a blast, and I hope you have as well. So thank you guys so much. All right, let's find somebody to raid. Thank you, and have a nice day. Thank you, Sandwich. Hope you have a great evening. You too, Corwin. Thanks, Ray. See you later. Thanks, Mahalo. All right, who do we got? See you, Lexi. All right, I think we're going to do Miramac Mud. Thank you guys so much. I say that a lot, but I mean it. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you on Friday. Bye.